Okay, welcome to shul.com. We are beginning a new book. It's called Sefer Dorot HaKatzar. It's written by Rav Shlomo Ben Izri. You can take a look at it right there. See that, Ben? Yeah. So this is, he was a Chaver Knesset. He's a Talmid Hacham. It's a fantastic book, and it really just goes through all the generations of the world. We're going to really start from the first day of creation, and we're going to work our way very slowly throughout history to understand who was everyone. And it's kind of interesting also because we're right now in Parashat Noah, so it kind of fits itself. Let's take a look. First, he begins by showing us a bunch of Dorot. You can kind of see it here. There, and then you take a look at it. It just shows like a whole map, but we're going to go back into talking into it. Let's take a look at the beginning. All right. Shavua Rishon L'Biriyat Haolam, the first week of creation. Biriyat Haolam, Adam Harishon, the first human being. Bekafei Be'adar Hechele Biriyat Haolam. He tells you that on the 25th of Adar, God began creating the world. Does that sound like something you already are familiar with? No. Because when were you taught normally that the world started in Tishrei? Mm-hmm. He's telling you already here, it's in 25th of Adar. What is this trying to tell you? Kilomar Yom Aleph L'Briya. That was the first day of creation. Kafav Be'adar Haya Yom HaSheni L'Briya. The second day of creation was Kafav. Be'Aleph B'Nisan Shehu Hayom HaShishi. The sixth day of creation would have been the first day of Nisan. Nivri'u Adam Chava. They were created on that day. Ledat Rabbi Yoshua. That is the opinion of Rabbi Yoshua, one rabbi. Now there's another rabbi, Ledat Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer's opinion is Be'Aleph B'Tishri. That's when Adam was created. Be'oto Yom B'Sha'a Asirit Sarach. And that in the 10th hour on the first day was when Adam, almost we could say, made mistakes and started to eat. So it was within the first day. The Zohar and the Arizal brings down B'Shat Tashit, the 9th hour. Ubesha'a hashtemesre, the 12th hour, nitrad mi Gan Eden, he already was thrown out of Gan Eden. So he was in Gan Eden for 12 hours. That's it. And that's brought down in Masechet Sanhedrin Lamed Chet. So he brings you another book that he wrote that I have also. It's a really good one. Okay, Adam gave birth, so he was born, and his wife Chava was created, and he had his two children in one day, same day. It wasn't a 9-month baby. And the two children were Cain and Hevel. Im Cain nolda te'oma achat. He was born with one twin girl inside. Ve'im Hevel shte te'omot. But his younger brother Hevel had two twins. Itan hitchatnu umehem nifos haolam. They each married the twin that came out, and that's how all the world got populated. Davar ze haya mutar mekivan sheze haya lifnei matan Torah. This type of marriage of sisters and twins was permitted because it was before the Torah was given. Hevel netzach al yedei Cain lachar 50 yom ha'briyah. So Cain kills Hevel after 50 days of living together with him. That's it. Ve'yesh omrim lachar 40 yom. Some say it was after 40 days. Cain neherag begil 130 betaut. Cain al yedei lemech. Later on, Cain ended up living 130 years, and he ended up getting killed by mistake with lemech. Let's take a look. Nachar chet ha'achila me'etz hadat. After Adam ate from the tree etz hadat, perish Adam rishon michava lemeshech 130 shana. Now, what happened? Adam, he was served from Hava, whatever etz hadat was. We'll see if he talks about it. There's a few opinions of what it was. Was it an apple? Was it wheat? Was it a trog? Was it grapes that became wine? So after Hava served him and he got thrown out of Gan Eden, he left there for 130 years. He wasn't thrilled about the whole situation, and Hashem also shrunk him. At the time beforehand, he was a giant, and then Hashem shrunk him to 100 amot. He must have been taller than that. So 100 amot is like 150 feet. But he felt the difference of not being in Gan Eden, having to work the land, so he left his wife. When Cain was killed, 130, he went back to his wife. He returned back there. And he had another son. His name was Shet. Adam v'Chava hayu begil 130, when they were both 130. Okay. 105 shana, when Shet, the third son, was born, he was 105. Nolad beno Enosh. Enosh was born. Uben zeh hechel limrod b'Hashem. That boy, Enosh, who was the grandson of Adam Harishon, he started to rebel against God. It took only 3 generations, and they already started being mored, and they made a rebellion against God in some way or another. If you have any questions, you can ask.
Was Enosh the righteous one? Who was the right?
No, Shet was righteous. We're going to get to Metushelah also down the line. Enosh, Enosh wasn't. He worshipped Avodah Zarah. ובזמנו החלו לעבוד את הכוכבים והמזלות. They started in the time of Enosh, which was the third generation of mankind. They started to already worship stars, constellations, and galaxies. They started to worship them as a deity. And they started to build for the stars special types of structures on Earth. Some of those structures are around till today. You know, like Stonehenge and the pyramids, they all align with the stars, with the galaxies. They're not just random structures. They have them in Mexico, the Aztecs, they have them in India, they have them in China. They're all over the world. They're random like pyramid structures, but they all align with planets, with the stars, with the moon. Till today, we don't know how they built some of these things. We don't know why they were building them, but they seemingly knew something that we don't. But we were learning earlier today that God put into the stars and the constellations, to those who understand astronomy and astrology, different types of power. This is how in the past, you know, today it's hard because you have so much light outside, you don't get to see the stars. But here in South Florida, there actually is an area by the Everglades that I went with a friend of mine. It's called Dark Nights, the guys over here. You drive about an hour and a half away, and you go out there. It's completely pitch black for miles around, maybe 30, 40, 50 miles around. You go there, and you can look at the sky and the stars. I did it with him. We went to 2 different locations. It was unbelievable. I never saw this many stars. You see the shapes of the galaxy. You can even see a little bit of the Milky Way. It's fantastic. And I know there's even areas you can travel to. Now, God put into these stars and galaxies power. But for someone who knows how to gather the energy and the power, he can control things on earth with them and understand what's going to happen in the future. Enosh, he understood these because he probably learned from his grandpa Adam or from his father Shet. He understood how the world was. But he started to worship these instead of worshiping God who created them. And we say even in the Tefillah, we say it in the Yotzer Or, on Shabbat in Shacharit. I'll show you how we mention this. We mention that these stars, constellations, they have a power, and they're not just, you know, there for illumination. It says, Hesed v'rachamim malei kevodo, tovim me'orot shebera'am Eloheinu. They're very nice, the lights that God created. Yitzaram beda'at, with knowledge, bebinah v'haskel. Meaning we're saying on God that He created them with da'at, bebinah, haskel. That shows you how advanced these things are. Koach u'gvura natan lahem. He put strength, He put givura in them, lihot moshlim b'kerev tevel, that they control things on the tevel. Now, what that means is not that they're in control. God is in control, but He created things that when they move, it has effects on Earth. We know that when it's a full moon, the tide rides, it's different, creatures of the sea come out. This is all part of it. Okay, so let's take a look. And he started to be mored b'Hashem. They started to build all these types of structures for them. This was the beginning of starting to not believe in God. It literally took 3 generations, which is unbelievable. So he says, it was about 340 years from the Dor HaMabul to Dor HaPalaga, which we're going to get to. Okay, in Adam HaRishon passes away. He's 930 years that he dies. Then we have Asara Dorot me Adam v'ad Noach. They are 10 generations from Adam until Noach comes around. What are they? Adam, he's a Sadiq. Shet, his son, is a Sadiq. Enosh, he starts to create problems. Kenan, same issue. Mahalalel, Yered. Now Yered is born, he's a Sadiq. So you had 3 generations of individuals who seemingly were not. Then you have Chanoch, which is the son of Yered, and then you have Metushelah. Metushelah is a big Sadiq. Metushelah is the one that lived 969 years. He lived the longest of any human being, and God waited for him to pass away, plus 7 days before He decided to destroy the world, out of respect to Metushelah. I was reading today that Metushelah had in his possession 900 Sedarim of Mishnayot on Avodah Zarah. 900. We have 6 Sedarim on everything. He had 900 only on Avodah Zarah. What does that mean? Is that there was so much idol worship of different types in the world. He had all different types of knowledge of which one is allowed, or if they're not allowed, but different types of halachot on them. Interesting. Then he had a son, Lemech. Lemech was an interesting guy. Lemech, at the time, the men used to marry 2 wives. They would marry one wife that was a gorgeous, beautiful lady. She had to maintain herself, the way she looked, the way she acted, nice body, hair, makeup, perfect. And that wife, she would drink what's called kos akarim, meaning the man would make sure that she could never get pregnant. She would drink, it's called kos akarim. It's a type of drink that they would drink, and she couldn't get pregnant. Then he would have another wife. The second wife was a wife that he would get married to just to have children. She would be at home, take care of the kids, cook, family, and then he would go out with the other wife. That's what they did. And Lemech was one of them. He married 2 sisters, Edah v'Tzila, benot Kenan, the children of Kenan. Now Noach was a Sadiq. Metushelah then you have Metushelah ben Hanoch. He's Chai b'chvifa im Adam Rishon b'mechesh 240 shana. Metushelah, he lived, I told you, he lived the longest. Metushelah, the son of Hanoch, he lived 969 years. He lived more than Adam HaRishon, which was 130 years. He lived with Adam 243 years that he saw him. He saw him. So how many generations was that? It was about like maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 generations back. Adam saw down, and he would still learn with him. Adam HaRishon siper lo ve'lemech. Adam HaRishon explained to Metushelah and to Lemech, Avi Noach, al b'riyat ha'olam b'glulat ma'aseh HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'devarim elu hu'avru min Noach la'Abraham. And those are the things that went from Noach to Abraham. I want to check in the Chumash just one thing. Okay, it says here, actually we'll finish this and then we'll check it up. Hanoch HaSadiq. Hanoch was a Sadiq. Niftar Begil 365. Who was Hanoch? That was the great-grandfather of Noach. He lived 365 Shana. Now what happened to Hanoch? Hanoch ended up becoming an angel. He became the angel called Matat. They don't say his full name, but it's a 6-letter name because he lived 365 years, and then when he left this world, he became an angel that rules over the 6 days of the week, whatever that means. And they call him a Na'ar, even though he lived 365 years, they call him like a young man. And it says here, "V'nilkach al yedei HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'shamayim v'nepach lemalach Matat v'sar hapanim." He became like the interior minister of the Borei Olam in the Shamayim. So it's an unbelievable time. Let's take a look in Noach inside. Before the Mabul, let's take a look at Lemech. ויחי מתושלח 87 שנה עד שנה וילד את למך, ויחי מתושלח אחרי הולידו את למך 82 שנה ו700 שנה וילד בנים ובנות. אוקיי, ויחי למך 82 שנה מעט שנה וילד בן. ויקרא את שמו נוח, לאמור זה ינחמנו מעשינו מציבון ידינו מן האדמה שיראה אדוני. Noach is born. When Noach is born, they say his name was Menachem. That was another place wrote down his name was Menachem. They called him Noach as short. And what's interesting is Noach was the first person to be born with 5 fingers on each hand. While prior to Noach, the way that the human race was they had fingers, but they were webbed. They were webbed fingers in between. And so when a person wanted to do anything, there were webs there, it was hard. So they called him Noach because when he came out, they saw that his fingers were separated. They were very happy that this person is going to be able to help us do things that we can't. From our hands, and from the suffering of our hands. Look at Rashi. Rashi has Chaptet. He says, Yaniach memenu et itzvon yadenu ad shelo ba Noach lo hayadam kele macharesha v'hu yechin lahem. He says another thing. He says, up until Noach was an inventor of agriculture tools. So before him, they used to use their hand, which was almost like a glove because it had webs. But from Noach, he started to create. His fingers were now separated. He started to create farm equipment. It started to be much easier. Said that from the time of Adam HaRishon until the time of Noach, every time they would plant something in the ground, thorns would come out, weeds. It would be work. But from the time of Noah, when he was born, and he had these new features on his hands, and he started inventing these new things, suddenly the land changed, and when they would plant, food would come out. It changed back to like almost the time before Adam Rishon. V'zeh yanach mimenu, v'im lo tefarsheu kach, en tam l'Hashem nofel al Hashem, v'ata tzarich likot shemo Menachem. He says here, his name was Menachem, Bereshit Rabbah Kaf Hey Dash Bet. Okay, let's take a look here earlier. Okay, it says here. Actually, this is coming up. So let's continue, and then we will go further. Okay. We are up to Holadet Noach, this week's parasha. Okay, so Noach is born. It's 1,056 to the creation of the world. All right, we said it's 10 generations, and it's 1,000 years. Shem Ishto Na'ama. His wife's name was Na'ama. Achot Metushelah. That was the sister of Metushelah. Metushelah is how many generations older than him? Let's take a look. 1, 2, 3. So it was his grandpa's sister that he married. Okay? I'm just giving you the information. All right, Ben.
They were way older also.
They were older. We don't. Listen, it was a different world.
Yeah.
It was a completely different world. Different animals, different creatures. We were talking just yesterday that the world itself was probably prior to Pangea. You know what Pangea is?
Yes.
Pangea is when the earth is separated. So it's also brought down in Osar Pelot Torah. We read it here in Devarim that prior to Noah, the world was not only one mass of land, like a large island with Israel, Yerushalayim in the center. That was the center of the world before it separated. And it was just all a body of water all around, but it was also just a plain of land. It was just flat lands everywhere. There was no mountains, there were no valleys, there were no hills, it was just flat everywhere. And he writes in the book that after the Mabul, the whole world when they came out was a completely different place. Part of the reason for this is Hashem didn't want people to be able to walk the earth and control the earth. He made it too easy the first time around almost, that the second time around it was a challenge to go and do the things that the people of the first world, prior to the new world of Noah were able to do. But back in the day, they were able to walk everywhere. They were before Adam, or at the time of Adam, prior to all this curse, people would plant and food would come out quickly. Also, the temperature of the world was around 70 degrees. I was reading that there wasn't 4 seasons. The 4 seasons only came after the Mabul.
Tilted the earth.
The earth tilted. It could have been a comet. It could have been, who knows what it had been. There was a Mabul. Something happened that caused that around the world to happen. And so the 4 seasons started. So prior to that, it was a flat plain of land. It was beautiful weather every day, easy to grow food. That caused people too much free time, and they started to not believe even that God existed.
But didn't the water cover the highest mountain?
So it said that during the Mabul, it covered the highest mountain of the mountains created. What that means is that we know that based on what he's saying here, is that there was a flat land, but mountains were being created. Could have been through some, cataclysmic, comment. It could have been from the water, from the volcanoes. We don't know exactly what happened in the Mabul. We know it was a hell for a year that he really had to go through, in the Teva. But we don't know exactly how it happened or some of the details. At least I haven't seen it yet. Maybe I'll see it in a book one day in some of the Sfarim. Yeah, and so that's it. Some say it was the sister of his grandpa, or some say it was the sister of Tuval Kain. Okay, they had 3 children, Noach. Shem, Shem is the same individual you'll notice in Bereshit. They call him Melchizedek Melech Shalem, that he greets Abraham Avinu when he wins the battle of the 4 and 5 kings. The other one is Cham, and the other one is Yefet. So Shem, Cham, and Yafet. Shayu Nisuim leshlosha achayot shehem nechdot Metushelah. They married Shem, Cham, and Yafet, the granddaughters of Metushelah. They married the granddaughters of Metushelah. There were 3 sisters. The 3 brothers married 3 sisters.
Were they all righteous?
No, they were not. You're going to soon see.
I know Ham was the daughters.
I would assume that Ham and the daughters were all to some level righteous because God chose them to stay. Otherwise, God maybe would have told Noah, don't take all the kids. So it seemingly seems that way that they were. That, and Noah being a Sadiq, God saved them. He said, right? So it seems like they were. Okay. All of any inhabitants that exist today on earth come from these three families. Yefet nolad ב-1556, Ham ב-1557, Shem ב-1558. So really, Yefet is the oldest, then is Ham, and then Shem is the youngest. So that's the order. It's Yefet, Ham, and then Shem. Okay? Yefet, Ham, and then Shem. Shem is the youngest. Okay? What's interesting, this is a side note from my own medical science research, is that there's only 3 blood types that exist in the world today. There's O, there's A, and there's B. There's no other. There is a very, very small percentage of what are ABs, which is like a mix to some extent, but for the most part, there's only 3 blood types. And I always thought that interesting that there were 3 different individuals who pretty much populated the whole world, and there's 3 blood types. So I thought that very, very interesting that's what it was, and I'm sure it has some connection, without a doubt. I know for sure it has a connection. And it seems Noah didn't have any more children afterwards. We'll see why shortly. Let's read about the Mabul, and then we'll end it at that. In the year 1656, there is a Mabul on the earth. Shavua lifnei Mabul niftar Metushelah Sadiq begil 969 shana. So Metushelah died a week before, and God waited for the Shiv'ah to finish. Kishechal Mabul haya Noach ben Lemech ben 600 shana. So Noach was 600 years. Beniyat Teva orka 120 shana. Took 120 years to build the Teva. Hamabul hechel laredet beyud zayin be'iyar. The 17th day of Iyar is when it started. L'shitat Rabbi Eliezer. So that's Rabbi Yeshua. L'shitat Rabbi Eliezer beyud zayin becheshvan. Okay, so there's an argument. Some say it was the 17th of Iyar. Some say the 17th of Heshvan. Okay, why is that? Because when it came to Rabbi Yehoshua, when did he say the world was created? I told you in Adar.
25th.
The 25th of Adar.
Yeah.
So that means the first day Adam was created on Aleph Nisan. Now I'm just saying how he did it. So I guess he said Nisan Iyar. The other one had Tishrei Cheshvan. That's what it looks like, because one said 17th Iyar, the other one said 17th Cheshvan. Okay. B'tchila yardu geshamim b'meshech 40 yom v'arba'im layla. In the beginning it rained 40 days and 40 nights straight. Miyud Zayin Heshvan ad Kaf Zayin Kislev. So he's using the 17th of Heshvan for the sake of this. Until 27 of Kislev, it rained every day. B'meshech od 150 yom, 150 days. Ad Aleph B'Sivan Gabru Hamayim Adei Geshamim. And then it took, for another 150 days, the water kept on getting stronger and higher. Earthquakes. Different types of like hot water and volcanoes came out from the ground.
Yeah, that's why the continents were created.
And so b'kavud 150 yom, 150 days, yom be'alef b'sivan echele hitchasrut hamayim. So in Aleph Sivan, after 150 days, the water started to go down a little bit. Be'alef be'av, in the first of Av, Nid'u Rosh HaHarim, they started to see the tops of the mountains. 40 days after Aleph and Av, which it's already Elul, he opens up the window, and he sends the crow, the Orev, out. And afterwards he sends the dove. Lebasof, Kaf Zayin Cheshvan, the 27th of Cheshvan, Shana ve'achad yom le'achar shenichnas hateva yatsa Noach mateva. So 1 year and 11 days after he goes in there, he finally gets out of the Teva. We'll end it here with that. And Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.